As the Nevada caucuses were going on yesterday, we spoke with former Vice President Joe Biden. He told us that he was confident about his prospects in South Carolina and beyond. Our latest battleground tracker polling shows your lead with South Carolina black voters is thinning out. In November, you were at 54% support. It's now at 35%. That's a 19-point difference.
It's also
what
been
is
about
happening?
What's happening is you have Steyer spending hundreds of millions, tens of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars out campaigning there. And so I think a lot's happening in terms of the amount of money being spent by the billionaires to try to cut into the African-American vote. I think that has a lot to do with it.
South Carolina, though, is your firewall.
You've said it, my firewall. I've never said
the campaign has said
no,
it's your firewall.
That's not fire. I said I'm going to do well there. And I'll do well there, and I'll do well beyond there as well.
What does do well mean for you?
Look, you guys can do all the pontificating about what it means. I'm not going to, that's not my job. My job is to go in and make the best case I can, and I think we're going to do well. I think we're going to go on to Super Tuesday and do very well.
Your campaign manager had said second place, there'd be a sigh of relief in South Carolina. You disagree with your campaign manager?
Look, I am not going to do the pontificating about, I'm not a pundit. I'm a candidate, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to go all the way through this thing.
You mentioned on spending, Steyer, you think the amount of money he's spending in South Carolina
a lot of money
is trimming away at your support.
Well, I assume that's part of the reason why those numbers are down, but I don't know.
What do you think is happening?
We'll see. I mean, look, you guys love this stuff. I'm not into this. Let's just see what happens.
You're watching all this.
I'm not watching this at all. I go out, I'm running for the same exact reason when I started. To restore some dignity to the office, to make sure that African Americans and minorities get treated well, and this time when we rebuild the middle class get brought along, and to unify the country and the party. Nothing's changed. Why I'm running, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Why does Joe Biden want to be president? What is the key thing that's driving you that you want to achieve if you're elected?
We have to restore the integrity of this country internationally. We have to get off of this god-awful effort on this president's part to divide the country. We have to bring the middle class back. We have to have a health care policy that makes sense, that is doable, which I can do by building on Obamacare. And we have to have an immigration policy that, in fact, is rational and reasonable and represents who we are. They're all the reasons why I'm running, among others. But look, the next president of the United States is also going to have to stand on the stage on day one and lead the world. They're going to have to be able to know what they're doing internationally, and the other leaders are going to have to know who that person is and know that person knows them. And I'm the best qualified person by a long shot of anybody running to do that. That's why I'm running.
Bernie Sanders, can you stop him in terms of the momentum he has? The Bloomberg campaign, as you know, is out saying that for moderates like yourselves, he's going to basically end up with an insurmountable delegate lead because of his early success.
I told you I'm not going to play this game with you. I don't know. It's not about who I stop. It's why I'm running. Why I'm telling the people that I should be the next president, why I'm the best guy to beat Trump. All those other polls you all cite also show I'm the person most likely to beat Trump. I'm the person that, in fact, in those polls, in addition to that, I'm the only one, in terms of the Russians, all these stuff you've all been reporting, the Russians don't want me to be the nominee. They spent a lot of money on bots on Facebook, and they've been taken down saying Biden's a bad guy. They don't want Biden running. No one's helping me to try to get the nomination. They have good reason.
Who informed you of that? Was it Facebook, or have U.S. intelligence officials told you about some kind of meddling with the campaign?
I have not spoken to the intelligence community, but I think the intelligence community should inform the rest of us who are running what they told Senator Sanders.
And there's no date for that to happen?
Not that I'm aware of.
But you're asking for it?
I think they should.
You should. From what you're seeing, you talked about Facebook. And them alerting you. Am I understanding you correctly?
I was told that there were a lot of bots on Facebook, and they've been all taken down. And so there were attacks on me.
Fake accounts being run by the Russians.
Yes. And they're taken down. But I don't know who, I didn't get a call from Facebook, but I was told by my staff that's what happened.
Because I know you've been critical of Senator Sanders for not being strong enough in his condemnation of some of the vitriolic sentiment online. And Senator Sanders has come out with a statement saying, and he said it on the debate stage as well, that perhaps some of this may be fueled by the Russians. In other words, they're not actually his supporters. Do you buy that?
Well, look, the people who occupy my office, maybe they were Russians, I don't know, but they said they were Bernie supporters. The people who occupied other offices and the people who did these terrible things to the culinary workers and the women who run that operation, I guess anything's possible, but they're identified as Bernie supporters. So I'm not making any comment beyond that, but there should be absolute condemnation of the conduct of these folks who are engaging in that kind of behavior and the misogynistic behavior that against the culinary workers and people coming into my office. The police this was back in the first two primaries, and have to call the police to get them out of office. I mean, that's Trump-like stuff. I mean, this is not the stuff that we've done in Democratic primaries before.
When he says the ugly stuff may be because of the Russians, sounds like you're saying no.
I don't know. I'll let you make that judgment.
Well, all of us would like to know a little bit more about exactly what's happening, but U.S. intelligence hasn't made any of this public yet. The White House isn't shedding much light. But the bottom line seems to be that...
The White House is shedding light. The president's angry because the intelligence community, in fact, informed Bernie Sanders and I guess others and members of the intelligence committee that, in fact, the Russians want to see Trump reelected and they like Bernie.
We spoke to the National Security Advisor to the President, who is denying that the White House was informed of the preference for Trump. But you and I both know that in 2016, that was the intelligence community's
All I know is what I've read
assessment.
and been reported. No one has confided in me. I have no inside information.
Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, doesn't all of this shake the confidence of the American people to a certain extent in terms of the integrity of the election itself? I mean, this is right at the heart of American democracy.
I've been saying this for over 3 years. The president denies they're involved. They've been involved. I was deeply involved in the intelligence apparatus and how it functioned before we left the vice presidency. It was clear they were involved. The president continues to deny their involvement. It's overwhelming. And the fact is that everybody knows, except when the president stands before the whole world, looks at Vladimir Putin and says, why would he want to interfere in our elections? Well, 17 intelligence agencies told them he did. So this is bizarre. This is bizarre. This is continuing. And what's happened? Why in God's name haven't we hardened the electoral process? Provided hundreds of millions of dollars to states to be able to harden their voter rolls, make sure they can't be attacked by cybersecurity as a consequence of cyber attacks. Why haven't we provided the capacity for them to be able to have the money to have paper ballots in addition to the? I mean, this is outrageous, and it's going on. Look, I joined with the leaders of Europe when the European elections took place back before I got involved. Before I decided to run, and we set up an organization that, in fact, said every European leader running in any party would take a pledge that if you got any negative information about someone else from a foreign source, you would not use it, and if you got any information that they were trying to interfere, you'd report it.
Have you asked your Democratic colleagues to do that?
I've said that on stage. I think we all should take that pledge. I've taken the pledge.
You were in office, obviously, in 2016 when all of this interference was first detected.
Yes.
Since that time, a bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee finding faulted the Obama administration for its response and said that the actions taken undermined public confidence in the election and allowed for further Russian interference. Do you agree with these findings that the administration fell short?
Not at all. Look, we went out and went to the committee, went to the Republican leadership and said, look, this is what we have. I didn't, but the intelligence community did. This is what we have. Why don't you join us in condemning what's happening? And the Republican leader of the Senate said, no, I want no part of joining in what is happening. And everything that came out subsequently to that reinforced what we were saying was going on. Now, the question was, should the president have come along and said, by the way, this is happening, and then it be viewed and accused of, we were somehow.
Right.
We alone were doing something.
But in hindsight, you know where the story ends up.
Well,
we didn't have the... are lessons for the current administration to learn.
Look, this administration is incapable of learning elections. They like this. Come on, let's be fair here. They've known this for a long time, for 3 years. Every intelligence agency has told them they continue to be engaged in this activity. Every intelligence agency told me they were engaged before. There's not any question anymore. There's never been a question for the last 3 years. And what's he doing? Zero. What is the Republican leadership in the United States Senate and Congress doing? Zero.